What is going on, everybody? What is going on, everybody? My name is JeffLightsyJr. here with the Black Balls channel. We have a special guest in today, Mr. Jalon Jones, quarterback at Bethune-Cookman. Jalon, how's it going, man?
Hey, what's up, Jeff? How are you doing, man? How are you?
Hey, I'm pretty good. I'm glad to have you in here. I'm glad to be talking some football, talk some life, just get an update on Jalon, man, because a lot of people were introduced to Jalon, early on, back from high school. You were a top-ranked recruit. You've been playing some good football. But Jalon, how is everything going for you down at Bethune-Cookman? I want to start off by asking you that.
Man, everything's going great down at Bethune, man. Honestly, it's Daytona Beach. What more you got to say after that? It's waking up 75-degree weather every day. You can't really get used to it. Trips to the beach daily. Great atmosphere, great environment, great school, great education. Great people. What more do you want? Honestly,
Hey, you can't beat it. 75 in the beach every day is beating what I got. I'm gonna just tell you that. But before we dive, I'm from Louisville, man. So I live in Louisville, Kentucky. So yeah.
Is it snowing yet?
No, it's May now. Don't do us like that. It's May.
Okay, it passed snowing time. It's past.
Yeah. We're headed to summertime, springtime. It's
So
it's
raining.
Huh?
It's raining.
Yeah, it do be raining sometimes. I can't lie. It be raining a lot over here. But what I want to ask you, Jalon, let's take it back a little bit, man. Let's take back. Who was the first person to kind of introduce you to football? Who put a football in your hands, and when did you realize, like, yeah, I kind of like this thing, or was it not that easy?
Nah, honestly, my dad. My dad, he's he was a linebacker. He went to the University of Colorado. He was on the '89 national championship team that lost to Notre Dame. He was I think he's like top 5 leading tackler in Colorado history. All of that. Went to camp with the Chargers. So I mean, football was something that was big in the household. I would say athletics as a whole. I would say was big in the household. Honestly, because on the other side of it was my mom herself, who was a Olympic high jumper. So
wow, I didn't know that.
Dude, yeah, wow. Mom was a 4-time national champ high jumper. She just got inducted to the Pac-12 Ring of Honor. I think earlier this year, actually.
Wow.
So that was something that was pretty big. And so, athletics was something that was pretty big in our household coming up.
So when, did you ever venture off into the track and field range at all? Or was that ever a thing with your mom being such a talent over there?
I did track a little bit my 9th grade year to keep me in shape for football. But it wasn't like a thing. I was too busy doing they put me in a lot of things, but by the time track was one of them, football was really kind of taking over as like my sport.
So when was it that you realized okay, well, let me ask you this, because with quarterbacks, when did you start playing quarterback? Your dad was a linebacker. Your mom was a crazy athlete as far as jumper, but you ventured to the quarterback position. So when did you start playing quarterback, and when did you realize hey, I'm actually pretty good at this quarterback thing?
I started playing quarterback in 7th grade. I was actually playing linebacker and safety a little bit and receiver a little bit. But I always could throw the ball. And my dad was like, hey, you can always throw the ball. Let's try to see where you are at a quarterback. So they put me in a quarterback, 7th grade, started training a little bit, right ball. Then 8th grade, I actually ended up trying out for the JV team in high school, and I made the team. And I was the starting and backup quarterback for a little bit, and I was there. And so, I mean, after I made that decision to quarterback, it was like, oh, okay, this is what we want to do. Let's full steam ahead, our balls to the wall. Let's go at it. And so after that decision, it was over.
Hey, so yeah, you're playing quarterback. You're starting to ball out. When did you first get that varsity start, and what was your first varsity start in high school like?
My first varsity start, honestly, it was in 10th grade. I came off the bench all 9th grade. But my first varsity start, it was big. It was against a school called Mills Godwin.
I'm making you think right here.
Honestly, you take me back. I feel old right now. It was Mills Godwin. It was a home game. I was 22 for 35. I threw for like 250, ran for like 120, had 5 touchdowns.
As a sophomore in high school, your first varsity start.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why you was thinking so hard. You broke down the stats. You broke what worked? Let's go all the way in. What worked? Why were you on fire that game?
You gotta remember this stuff, man. Honestly, I watch all of this stuff. I've watched all of this stuff so many times. Watching film is just second nature to remember stuff at this point. I just gotta remember.
Man, so when you go, so you came off the bench in high school. I'm just taking you back your freshman year, your sophomore year. Did you know that you were going to be the starter? Like, was it already predetermined? Like, okay, Jalen's going to be our starting quarterback.
Year? It was a battle because ninth grade when I didn't start, I ended up moving in the middle of the semester to a different district, and I went to high school there, and it was high school called Henrico. I went to a high school I first called Verona, and it was kind of a rivalry there. And I went to Henrico, and it was a battle in the spring. You know, we had a spring 7-on-7 league throughout the county and stuff like that. We played, and it was a battle with me and the quarterback that was there. I ended up winning. They ended up moving him to DB, and I ended up having to have a battle there, and I ended up taking over. So by the time season came, it was a confirmed, I was a starter.
I got you. Now, in high school, Jalon, you did some great things, man. You ended up being like a 4-star recruit. When did recruiting kind of pick up for you, and who were some of those first kind of couple of offers, and how'd you feel when you started getting some attention from some big time schools?
It's actually crazy. Going into my 9th grade year, I got my first offer from University of Virginia, UVA. Okay. And so that was a nice offer from a hometown school. You know, UVA, Charlottesville is about an hour and 30, hour 15 north of where I'm from in Richmond. Okay. So it was nice getting some love from the hometown. Then 10th grade, as I said, 9th grade, I didn't really play, so I didn't get many offers, but I went to camps, so I got a bunch of looks, but everybody was just saying, hey, once you get some film, we're going to be real interested in you. So then 10th grade, I had a great season. I was second team all Metro, took my team to the playoffs, all of that. And then I ended up transferring to St. Francis Academy for my junior year. And that it's crazy. That spring of my 10th grade year, I was like, okay, I'm going to St. Francis. And so they had like spring workouts up there. And so, you know, it was a big boarding school and it was a big time program. So they had scouts from all the programs around the country coming in and meeting and having us all work out, and we're going over plays and working out, throwing and doing all this stuff, and they're coming in and watching us go. And I started picking up a bunch of offers over that in that spring. And then after going in that junior season with me, I had another great season. We ended up winning the national championship that year. And so after that, I ended up making a decision to go to Mississippi State. And then I ended up making a decision after my senior season. I'm going too fast.
I'm following, man. I'm right there with you.
I'm gonna let you go through your questions, but yeah.
That's it, man. That's awesome. Because like you said, we're learning things about you, and it's crazy because you know us. And I'm saying us, me being a fan and a member of the media, you really just see like the headlines, right? You see like, Jalon Jones commits to, you know, Bethune-Cookman or whatever. But like, there's like a process there. Whether it's the recruiting, there's the transferring to schools, there's the fighting for jobs, there's getting offers before you even start. Like I mean, all of these things, the 7-on-7 camps, the training camps, and all the stuff. Like a lot of people don't take that into consideration when they see, you're like, oh, how is this guy getting all this stuff? Well, this guy's actually putting in a lot of work behind the scenes, and that's why it's cool to hear some of that stuff, like what you're saying. That's why I was like really like following along. So you go there, you commit to Mississippi State. So how did you end up in Florida? What was it about the Gators that made you decide to go there? Ended up going to the Florida Gators.
As I said, I was committed to Mississippi State. Love Mississippi State, Starksville. It was a great place. And the coaching staff, Dan Mullen and those guys over there, they were real good coaches. And so then they ended up leaving and going to Florida. And I opened up my recruitment after they left Mississippi State. And I was looking at other schools. I had my top 5 at the time was Ohio State, Colorado, my dad's old school, UVA. And so I was in Florida at the time. And so I was looking at those guys. So I was going around, and I knew going into my sophomore year, I knew going into my senior year, I knew I wanted to have my position locked in so I could help bring in a recruiting class and all of that. And so it was about that time going into my senior season. Actually, like at the end of my junior year, I was like, okay, I'm taking on my visits. I took a visit to Florida, and after I took a visit to Ohio State, I was like, okay, I'm liking this. I got one more visit to take, so I took a visit to Florida, and I went down there, and I met with Coach Mullen again and Coach Johnson, and I met with those guys, and I was just, in love with Gainesville. Like I said, Florida sells itself, and so Gainesville is a great place. And so I committed there, and, I had a great time. I love Florida.
That's awesome. Once again, we're talking to Jalon Jones, current quarterback at Bethune-Cookman. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Now, Jalon, you had your time at Florida. You enter the transfer portal. You're deciding about which schools you want to, relocate to. What was it about Jackson State, or was it something about did you consider an HBCU school like when you hit the portal? Like, what was it about Jackson State that made you decide to go there when you decided to leave Florida?
My uncle, Dwayne Pickett, he preaches down in Jackson, Mississippi. Church.
Okay.
I forgot the name. He's gonna kill me when he sees this. He's gonna kill me. I want to say the right name, and I don't want to say the wrong name. But he's gonna kill me.
It's in Jackson, so the people will let us know.
And Coach Hendricks at the time, he was the head coach at Jackson State. He knew my uncle. He was real close with him. He actually went to the church, and so we got in touch, and Coach Hendricks was just a real good man. Was just a good person, and a great leader, and somebody that I really got a lot of respect for. And he offered me a scholarship, and I just decided to, come. And then, the history of the HBCU, the Hall of Fame resume speaks for itself for Jackson State, so.
Now, coming from Virginia, did you know much about like HBCU schools, or was that a thing?
Yeah. I grew up. I used to live 15 minutes down the road from Virginia State.
Okay.
My cousin actually went there, so I used to always be on their campus. My other cousin went to Howard. When I lived up in Baltimore, Morgan State was around the corner. We was always over there. Not to mention down in Hampton and Norfolk State. And so, it's we know for HBCUs. We ain't new to this.
Absolutely, man. But like, you were a big time prospect out of high school. Did any of those schools that you just named, or did they come recruit you, or were they kind of like scared off because you were Jalon Jones at St. Francis?
I don't want to say like Jalon Jones, St. Francis, because it's not that. They honestly, they didn't reach out, and that's it. So I mean, it wasn't that I was like closed off to it. It's just, we used to at St. Francis, we used to practice at Morgan State, and I didn't get the offer.
Yeah, and I love that kind of stuff is changing now. I see that like kind of changing. You see some of these different schools, not just Jackson State, but other schools reaching out to, guys, essentially what you would have been in high school, reaching out to those type of 4-star, 5-star prospects that maybe they wouldn't have, when it did as recently as when you were in high school. And I think, what do you think about that? The fact that some of these different HBCUs, whether it's the SWAC or MEAC, are reaching out to top ranked prospects?
You love it. It's the era of football is slowly changing. And, it's great. You love to see, change, and to be on the tail end of that and to be a part of that is great. And I hold that on my shoulders. Like I was just seeing the other day that, you know, Robert Covington was the only person in the NBA that is from an HBCU, is an alumni. And, you know, that's big. And so I take being an HBCU alum and player is a big responsibility, because it is, you know, that tradition, that history, it speaks for itself. And to be a part of that and to be able to carry that on my shoulders as well, it's huge. And I take that with a lot of love and respect. You know, you got to love, like, Bethune-Cookman, Mother Mary. You got to love Mother Mary. Like hell Wildcats. Like, honestly, you got to love Mother Mary. And
absolutely,
her tradition and everything that she stood for. You know, that's something that's real big. And the fact that I can, you know, hold a part of her tradition on my shoulders, that's big for me.
Absolutely. Once again, we're talking to Jalon Jones, quarterback at Bethune-Cookman. Now, Jalon, I want to ask you about that spring season that you had at Jackson State. Well, first of all, let's before we talk about that, what was it like? I mean, you were a college football athlete. It's been a couple of years now, and it's crazy to think about. During COVID, right? When COVID first hit, it looked like you guys weren't going to have a season, and now you end up having a spring season. But what was it like, and what was the coaching staff kind of saying to you guys when, you know, the world kind of stopped and you guys weren't playing in the fall of 2020?
Yeah, I mean, it was big. It was crazy, actually, because, you know, we had that fall 2019 season. We got through with that, and we got into the first part of spring workouts, and then we went home for spring break, and they didn't let us come back, and we just stayed at home, and it was crazy. And so we're hearing all throughout the summer going back, okay, we're going to be back here in August, get ready, stay in shade, all of that, X, Y, and Z. And by the time August came, they're like, hey, there's no season. So we're like, okay, well, are we going to be able to at least come back and go to school? Like,
yeah,
stay at home online. And so we were doing online school. And so we were sitting there, we're like, daggone, here we are doing online school. And we're going through the semester. At the beginning of the semester, next thing we know, Coach Hendricks is let go, and he gets fired. And so we're like, okay, wow, it was our head coach. And so we're hearing all of these rumors through the grapevine, all of that X, Y, and Z, and then we hear, you know, Deion Sanders. And so, you know, wondering if that's rumors, wondering if that's true, and then coming to find out, you know, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, he's going to come be, you know, our head coach. And so, you know, going into that spring season, it was big. And so it was crazy going through, you know, not being able to play for that long and having that uncertainty of, you know, wow, you know, COVID is such a big thing. It's something that we still deal with. And then now here it is 3 years later, and, you know, still issues. And so, I mean, it's just crazy how it is, you know. And so it was a crazy time.
And it's crazy just hearing about that. Like, think about that. You're on spring break, and then they just tell you don't come back. Like, it's like, dude, what?
And it was ridiculous because I brought, like, you know, spring break is like a week. I brought like a week and a half worth of clothes. And so I couldn't even go because then airlines. You remember airlines got shut down.
Yeah.
You know, they weren't letting people fly. They weren't letting anybody go anywhere. Borders started getting closed. And, you know, so I couldn't, like, my clothes are all the way in Mississippi. I'm all the way back home in Virginia. I'm like, Dad, go, here I am. I'm like, what can I do? It was ridiculous.
Yeah, man. That is, like, looking back on that, it's just like, wow, we really went through that. And I can imagine, I wasn't in college at the time, so I can imagine being in college on spring break.
Honestly, it's ridiculous. It was a crazy time. Honestly, it's gonna be some crazy stories to tell. I can say that.
Yeah, you're right about that. Once again, we're talking to Jalon Jones, Bethune-Cookman quarterback. Now, Jalon, let's talk about that spring season. You go in, it's Coach Prime's first year at Jackson State. You're the quarterback. But, I mean, you told me before that spring season, you actually were kind of recovering from an injury. If you can explain that, like what kind of took place before the start of that spring season?
No, I had surgery. I had labral repair surgery in October. and I had to go through rehab. That whole, little. How many was that? October, November, December, January, February. 4 months of rehab to get ready for practice. It was really about 3.5, 4 months of rehab for surgery, and I was back in Mississippi playing, and so just getting ready for that. What a season entails. It was only about, I forgot how many games we played. I think it was like 6 or 7.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
It wasn't a full 10-game season, but even people know even a 6-7 game season, that's a lot of wear and tear on your body, and so
Absolutely.
having to come back quick to be ready and be in shape to play, it was rough, but it's just par for the course. Just what you got to do.
Now you have your time at Jackson State, and you decide to go to the community college, the JUCO. What was that like? What was that experience deciding to leave JSU and then playing at the JUCO?
The decision to leave JSU was a tough one. Because you love Jackson State. Had a lot of love for 1400 Jalon Street. You got to love it. I love the sonic boom, the cooking, all of that stuff. But it was just time to leave, and so God ushered that time in, and so it was just my time to go in. Went to JUCO, junior college, and anybody that's been through the junior college life can tell you what it is, and it's not for the faint of heart. I'm not gonna lie to you. Many hard nights. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was up in Moorhead, Mississippi. For anybody that don't know, that's about 15 minutes down the street from Mississippi Valley State. And I think, dude, the middle of nowhere, the closest McDonald's is probably about 20 minutes down the road.
Wow.
And dude, it was ridiculous. And it was one of those where it's like, okay, you better catch that gas station chicken before 8 o'clock because they've been closed. And so, I mean, it was a good experience though, even though it was rough. Once I looked at it as, you got to take the experience for what it was and, really accepted it for what it was. It was a really great learning experience. I was thankful for, Mississippi Delta. It was great. I loved Moorhead and the relationships that I made there and the friendships that I made there, because those some real great guys that I just, got a lot of love and respect for.
Absolutely. Now, Jalon, you're at your junior college. You're being recruited again. What was it about Bethune-Cookman, Coach Terry Sims, and that staff over there that made you decide to go ahead and play for the Wildcats?
Coach Hayes, he came out and saw a game. I want to say it was our senior night game. He came out and saw, and he was like, "Hey, we want to offer you a scholarship. We're really interested in you." I think they offered me a scholarship like a week or two before, I want to say, and then he came out, and I was just like, okay, that's a lot of love and respect. They were in the middle of the season, stopping and coming to see me play, and I had a talk with them pregame. It was just a real great talk. What they were looking for in a quarterback. The type of season that they were having, what they needed out of a quarterback, and what I could do for them. And they offered, was just reiterating about them offering me a scholarship. And then I went out to warm up, talked to my dad, talked to my coach, and I was like, hey, I want to go ahead and commit. And committed to Bethune. I called Coach Sims. I ran over to Coach Hayes, and I called Coach Sims in the middle of the workouts and told him, hey, I want to commit. So hung up, went back to warming up for the game, and then came on a trip to Daytona that second week of December. And once you get to Daytona, it sells itself. Honestly, I can't say more. It's Daytona Beach. You step into Daytona Beach and it's Daytona Beach. The air, the aura, it's just the atmosphere. You just love it. And then the coaching staff, just meeting the rest of those guys, and they just good guys, good people. I love seeing them. I'm always in the building because one, I want to always learn more about football, but I enjoy seeing them and talking to them and messing with them. It's a great relationship, great people in that building. And I just appreciate that staff over there that Coach Sims has. And it makes me want to be in the building more and just, and it helps me learn more about football. So it's just a great environment over there at Bethune, honestly.
And that's awesome to hear, man. It's awesome to hear that you're having that great experience with the Wildcats there in Bethune-Cookman. Now, did it mean anything for you to be back in the SWAC and playing some of these old SWAC schools that you were familiar with playing against while you were at Jackson State, or was that like a non-factor?
I mean, it's you can't not think about it. Of course, I mean, it's that opportunity that always comes up. But at the end of the day, it was the opportunity to be at Bethune was just one of its own, and it's just a plus that I get to play those guys too. So
hey, it's gonna be awesome to see, and I know it was a big deal when you made the headlines choosing to go to Bethune and help building up that program. Now, let's talk about some of the football stuff. What are some of the things that you're like pregame? Or is there a certain pregame meal? Do you have any certain pregame superstitions or any pregame music that you listen to, specific artists, or any of that kind of stuff going
on? Pregame superstitions. I always got to walk around the field. I always got to do a couple laps. And I got to warm up all of that stuff. Then I got to call my mama, call my dad, call my sister,
okay.
get a little talk from them. Then this is just some gospel music, honestly. It's
gospel. Okay, I love gospel. Who's some of your favorite gospel artists? Who you got going?
I got to get some old school Kirk Franklin.
Yeah, it's the best.
You got to, honestly, you start off with that, and then you let everything just fall in after that.
Okay, and what's the go-to Kirk Franklin joint, or is there one? Is there a couple? If you got a couple,
Revolution, Melodies from Heaven.
Melodies from Heaven is it? Hey, that's a good one.
Dude, honestly,
Revolution.
About the name Jesus is just honestly. You start off there, and then it's just a good mellow vibe. So you just enjoy it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So we're talking about your football and stuff like that. Now, it looked like on social media you might have had an injury. Did you have an injury? Are you recovering? What's kind of going on with that?
No, quick little same injury that I had back before Jackson State season. Tore my labrum, but it's just had the surgery a couple weeks ago. So doing great. Started rehab already. And so season's in August and in September, so it's plenty of time to reheal, and it's non-throwing shoulder, so just a routine surgery and routine rehab process. So it's nothing serious.
Now, from your time, Florida, Jackson State, junior college, what are some of the things that you've been able to see, and now going into this fall season with Bethune, that you've seen your game grow, or some places that you're working to improve and hopefully have ready to go starting this fall?
Honestly, the main place that I've seen my game grow, refining the skill that I already had, one, but also the mental side of it. Seeing having all this experience. You mentioned all these places, having all this experience of seeing all of these different, defenses and offenses, and seeing what people like to do and seeing how football is played. And the best teacher is time. And seeing all of these different, games played and being in all these games, I've learned a lot. And so seeing how defenses are trying to manipulate the offense and seeing how it's just a chess match the whole time, I think the mental side of the game is where I've really taken the biggest step over, the past few months, the past few seasons, actually.
Now, for people like myself at home who play armchair quarterback, we ain't really out there throwing no passes. But what is the toughest thing about playing the quarterback position?
Toughest thing, I'd say the trust. The trust in those guys. You gotta be out there and fully believe, okay, everybody's doing their job to the best of their ability. So it lets me relax and believe in the system. And it's beautiful, honestly. That chaos, you got 11 guys they having to do their exact job at their exact time to get the exact opportunity that you want to execute on. And it's beautiful. And it's the synchronization and trusting in those guys and the unity. It's just you just love it, honestly. And so I think that's one of the besides learning where everybody has to be, where everybody has to do, and all the defenses and all of that stuff. I think one of the toughest part is really, trusting in and believing in what everybody got to do, because once that happens, it's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Because I don't think people believe. I don't think people realize. I think that's the toughest part that people don't realize about the quarterback position, and that's for an armchair quarterback, as you say.
Yeah, and that's me, and that's us. We love to talk about it. And speaking of those armchair quarterbacks and guys like me that like to run their mouth, being a collegiate athlete, especially at some of these big time programs, at a SWAC program like Bethune-Cookman, how social media, when it comes to critics or praise, how do you kind of manage that? Or is that something like, do you look at the things that people say about you on social media, or are those things you pay attention to? Or how do you kind of deal with that?
Honestly, most people know me. I'm not really a big, I have that social media and all of that stuff and that presence there, but I'm not in tune with it to say, people usually bring me stuff, honestly. And that's how it'll go from there. I'll ask somebody about what's going on. But I mean, unless it's something that's very like glaring like that, I'm not really in tune with it until, something is brought to me.
So but even when people like say if some, douchebags on Twitter just rattling off, Jalon is the worst quarterback ever. And even if somebody brings it, does that bother you at all? Or do you kind of protect yourself from doing, are you good on that?
I can never. People that aren't inside the car can't affect what's going on inside it.
I like that.
You got to keep on driving. So
I like that, man. I like that. Now, Jalon, for the Bethune-Cookman fans, man, I'll get you out on here on this. Once again, we're talking to Jalon Jones, quarterback at Bethune-Cookman. For the Bethune-Cookman fans who haven't seen you play ball in a while, or getting used to who you are, maybe they didn't pay attention to some of the previous stops. Just what is Jalon Jones bringing to the Bethune-Cookman program? Starting, you're already there, but starting this fall, and what do you hope to deliver as far as a quarterback, not just on the field, but as a person in the community down there at Daytona Beach?
Just a great guy, just a person that just, loves to be around, loves to be a part of, what everybody has going on, loves to be a part of the community, loves to be involved, loves to be there. I just love, we had a fire on campus, in one of our dorms, and we had to move people out. Football team, we were the first guys over there. We were moving people out. We were helping out with that. I just love that side of things. Mentoring kids down there at schools. It's just that environment. It's great. I love Daytona Beach. So giving back and helping Daytona Beach isn't an issue at all, because it's a great place to be, and I really enjoy it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Once again, it's Jalon Jones, the quarterback of Bethune-Cookman. Now, Jalon, I can't let you go without asking you about the Victory Lap album in the back, man. What's up with that? Why did you decide that you wanted to have that? It looks amazing, by the way. And RIP Nipsey Hussle. But what's going on? Like, what is it about Victory Lap that made you want to go and get something like that?
Dude, Nipsey's a great artist, and actually my stepmom, she's a manager over at Atlantic Records. And so she worked with Nipsey on that album, and she has a bunch of different artists that she works with, but that was just one of her artists and one of her albums. And so as you see, she has that in the house. So it's just everything that he stood for. It's just something that's great to have over there.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, Jalon, best of luck to you, man. Once again, it's Jalon Jones, quarterback of Bethune-Cookman. Best of luck to you this fall, man. We'll definitely keep tabs on you and the Wildcats. And thank you so much for the time, for coming out and spending a few minutes with us.
Nah, definitely. Anytime. Let me know, Jeff. Appreciate you, man.
No problem. Hey, once again, you're watching the Black Boss channel. It's Jalon Jones. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you